The biggest impact from the Maui retreat, been a number of effects, but the core issue for me that showed up is that I didn't realize before going how much I had made self-judgment and shame a part of my daily internal world. For the first time, I was able to start seeing it. And Maui gave me an opportunity to experience something so completely different that I now had this contrast of what my life could feel like, and looking at it from the opposite direction of like, this is what it could be, and looking and seeing what my life was like when I came back from Maui and all the patterns of my life came and stared me in the face. The contrast was radical, and it has radically changed my perspective on how I interact with myself, how I interact with my wife, and how I interact with my business. So I would say that having the opportunity to see that has been the biggest impact from that retreat. So my experience working with Bucky and Leah was really critical moving into the retreat. So I had been working with them for about 3 months prior to Maui. And what I've discovered working with Bucky and Leah is that my pattern has always been to look at the external things around me and to not look internally, and to put emphasis and look in those places that were probably the least effective ways for me to generate any activity, instead of working on myself and how I show up as the messenger for my mission. I would say none of those pieces, I didn't feel like a messenger, I didn't feel like I had a mission, I didn't feel like I was showing up. None of those things were really true, were coming through effectively prior to working with Bucky and Leah. And I think I needed that context. I think I needed to see how much I was deceiving myself about the true state of the business prior to coming to Maui. So if you're thinking about coming to Maui, everything that I just told you, I had no idea. They have been insistent on solving the real problem. And it was a problem, like I said, that I couldn't really see until I went to Maui. And people had always said like, oh, find mentors that you trust and then do what they say. But I was not really in the habit of doing that. And I couldn't see why until I did this experience where I thought that I knew better, and I wasn't really there to ask for help. And Bucky and Leah, we've had so many conversations that like pretty much all of the coaching that I had up until going to Maui were about all of the things that I discovered for myself in the retreat. And then it all clicked. I was like, oh, this is it. So what makes them different is that there is a way of being that influences how you do everything. And they work with you on the things that will actually make a really tangible shift in your business and actually change how you perceive reality. That realization only really came to me after Maui, after like seeing the retreat. And in some ways, like I wish that I had started with Maui, and I know that God had me go through the coaching with them for a reason, because all of the stuff they had been telling me suddenly clicked. And it's almost like I feel like now I can start the work in a lot of ways. So what I felt resolved within me in Maui is, there were a lot of patterns that I didn't see. But some of the things, this is just crazy how humans work, how entrepreneurship works. Because I knew that there was some stuff from my past that I was hanging on to. And I'm talking stuff that I've been hanging on to for a decade and a half, at least. In Maui, we did some exercises and some processes that helped me to heal from some wounds that were 15 years old, where I had the opportunity to finally grieve what had happened in a way that I had never been able to. And I was able to release emotions that had been stuck for so long. And I honestly think that that had something to do with the shame and the guilt, because I had lived for so long with this pain that was like so deep inside, and I couldn't touch it, and I didn't know how to touch it. I didn't know how to heal it. And so I felt like that was just how life was. Life was just supposed to hurt. And when we went to that retreat and we were able to heal that, it was like there was this piece of me that I'd been holding on to. It was like holding on to like a ball of thorns and like gripping onto it and causing my hand to bleed, and it had just become a part of me. And by being able to heal that piece, something really, really deep shifted, like really deep. And it was like the 14-year-old version of me could finally let go. And that version of me that had been in so much pain when I started my business, that had never been resolved until this moment. It was living in my business and in my body and in my marriage even now. That fear of abandonment that was so deep that it was just how I interacted with the world. And having resolved that piece of myself, like, you can't put a dollar price. You can't put a price on that. You can't put an amount of money that makes it worth it to have a part of yourself back that you thought was gone forever. Even just talking through the experience now, I'm able to see things and put things together that I couldn't see before. And that's also another lesson from Maui, is something that I noticed for myself is there was one night where we did firewalking. Firewalking is super fun. Oh my gosh. I firewalked 14 times. And I had this feeling of like, you know what, I'm doing too much. I should just like hold back and just like not go as crazy, because like, I don't know, it's kind of weird for me to just keep going when, I don't know, like I felt weird. And I saw how much that pattern showed up every single day of like, oh, I've had enough, I'm good. Let me not like take up too much space. Let me not take up too much oxygen. And like that idea of like push the envelope, keep going, take up more space, use all of my gifts. Like that has showed up really hard in the business. That has shown up in the business of like holding myself back and not giving myself full permission to go after the things that I really want. And it's almost like Maui started it. And now I'm in the work of like, oh, there's like even just a conversation now. Like, oh, I'm seeing all of these pieces that I did not see before that are now showing up. I'm like, oh, now I'm seeing where that thing that felt so disconnected in Maui, that expression I had about healing this part of myself, that's where it was showing up here when I was writing a post. That's how it was showing up when I was going to do outreach. That's how it was showing up when I was creating a new workshop. Like, oh, now I see it. Now I'm seeing how these pieces were showing up and how it was everywhere. And no wonder I felt like I couldn't make any progress in my business, because I had like chains all over, limitations everywhere. And so I just want to say thank you, because it's been a wild journey. And it's a journey I didn't even know I needed to go on at all. And somehow God put you in my life at this time to show me that this was a journey I needed to go on. And you guys are really incredible guides. And you're really good at this. And they're like, I want to go on every retreat and just do this again. And I'm really excited for all the things that are shifting now and that are about to shift in our life, in our marriage, in our business. And I can't say that any of that would have happened. I like think about what would have happened if we hadn't met, and if we hadn't invested with you guys, and like what I was operating in before all of this. And like, I don't even recognize that person. It's like, I can't even imagine it. Like the position that I'm in my business now, where I'm in a phase of like rebuilding, if I was in this position without all of the tools and all the experience I've had over the last 3 months, like I would be back exactly where I was 2 years ago, in just full-on panic anxiety attack. And because of that, because of the work that you guys have done with me, I'm sitting here and I'm excited, I'm calm, and I am in love with my life. I mean, I'm in love with my wife too, my life and my life. And I can honestly say that I feel for the first time like I am truly on an adventure and I am enjoying every moment of it. The ups and the downs are equally amazing. And I'm just, like, that's a gift that I can't quantify. It's just, yeah, I'm just so glad you guys do the things that you do. And because I wouldn't be here sitting having this experience if you didn't follow what you were supposed to follow. So thank you.